Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into A Voice for All. I am your host, Jamila Gamble, and I'm so happy to have you on this episode because we are focusing on a topic that everyone needs to know about. If at any point you'd like to join in the conversation, you'd like to get in touch with me, join the Jam Fam, all the information is at the bottom. You could email me, you could tweet. Like I said, the Jam Fam, it's a great community, lots of resources, and I also recap the guests and their contact info if you ever want to get a hold of them after the show has aired. So please join me in welcoming Cynthia Milburn. I have to read this, Cynthia, because you have quite a mouthful after your name. The Executive Director of Epilepsy, Halton, Peel, Hamilton. Wow.
That's right.
that is a huge area to be covering.
It is a massive area of about 2.5 million people.
Wow. Wow.
That we cover and serve on at the community level.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here because, like I said, epilepsy is something that people do not really know about. And what they do know is sometimes not the whole story. They know a bit of it. Like I was telling you before we came on, in season 1, I had asked people, you know, randomly on the streets, what would you do if you saw someone having a seizure? And they all told me, I don't know what I would do. And they were embarrassed by it. You know, so the whole point of this show is for us to focus on what is epilepsy, and hopefully we could educate people about what to do if they see someone having a seizure.
Well, that's great. Epilepsy is a neurological condition, and it exhibits itself in the form of seizures. It's the second most common neurological condition, second to migraine headaches.
Wow.
And it is 1 in 100 people have a seizure disorder, so it is not. It's not an uncommon thing. It's very, very common.
Now, is it contagious, as some people think it is?
No, epilepsy. If you have a brain, 1 in 100 of us will have epilepsy. 1 in 10 will have a seizure in their lifetime. It could be due to an illness, a high fever, a diabetic irregularity. It could be due to many things, and or high stress. 1 in 10 of us will experience a seizure, but that's not epilepsy. If you have recurrent unprovoked seizures, that is called epilepsy.
Now, that's what I was going to ask you. What is the difference between having a seizure and having epilepsy?
Right, and there's many, many different types of seizures and types of neurological conditions exhibiting seizures.
Right.
It's quite complicated.
So how can we break it down? Let's talk about some of the more well-known types of seizures that people might come across.
Most people refer to a tonic-clonic seizure as a grand mal seizure. So that would be one major type of seizure, and it involves the whole brain.
Okay.
So during a tonic-clonic seizure, and tonic means jerking, and stiffening, and the clonic means jerking. So that would be the full convulsive seizure that we recognize, most people think of as a seizure. And then the other type of full brain seizure is called an absent seizure. So people just kind of zone out for seconds or minutes at a time. And then the second major type of seizure is a partial seizure. So the partial seizure means that only part of the brain is being affected. So just maybe the little bit of the left temporal lobe or the right temporal lobe, whatever the seizure is coming from, it's just creating a partial seizure. And those are the most common seizures.
That you miss.
That you miss, yeah. Many, many times they're missed and misdiagnosed. So there's complex partial, which again, you're not conscious, but you're functioning. So it may look funny. You may be doing some funny, maybe picking at your clothing or wandering or seem sort of out of sorts. That would be a complex partial, and then they come out of it and they look up and they think, oh, I thought it was over there, now I'm over here. And then a simple partial, you are fully aware, fully conscious, but some part of your body is not behaving the way you want it to because the brain is telling it to do that.
Right, okay.
Like maybe something like this, or maybe their face is contorting a little bit. So it's more subtle.
And to recap with that, I've not personally experienced, but I've had clients I've worked with who've experienced all of those different types of seizures Cynthia just told us about. With the tonic-clonic, in my opinion, that is the most scariest one to see, because you in a sense, you panic. And it might come across a little weird, but I tell people who've seen it for the first time, you will almost go into shock because you don't know what to do when you see someone convulsing like that. With the absence seizures and the person's blinking, working in the school system, people often misinterpreted that for a child who's not paying attention. So Johnny's looking off in the corner and Johnny's just daydreaming, when in fact Johnny could be having an absence seizure.
Yes.
I had another client I worked with that his one arm would go up and would stay up for about a minute or two, and that's how we knew. So when you're the general public and you're not aware of these types of seizures, open your eyes and notice that if you see someone doing something that's a little wrong, instead of poking fun of it or ignoring it, attend to them. Ask them if they're okay, try to get their attention. We're going to talk about the first aid steps in dealing with the seizure, but I'm really glad that we talked about the types of seizures. What do seizures do to people's bodies after they've experienced one?
Depending on the severity of the seizure, some people, just a quick, simple partial seizure, they just resume whatever they were doing. But tonic-clonic is very hard on the body, and it's physically draining. And of course, the body's been moving and convulsing unbeknownst to the person, and sometimes they hurt themselves. Sometimes there's quite a long recovery, hours of recovery. They maybe just want to go back to sleep and sleep it off. Often they have a massive headache, and so they would require some downtime.
Absolutely, the downtime. So that's a perfect segue into our first aid. So I'm walking down the street, I see somebody convulsing on the ground. Do you A, sit on them, B, put something in their mouth, or C, call 911? What would they do in a situation like that, Cynthia?
Well, you definitely don't restrain the person at all. That would be harmful to them. And you definitely do not put anything in their mouth. That is one of the biggest, oldest myths.
Yeah.
And that could not only harm the person, it could harm you. And you don't want to be near that person's mouth where they could clench down on you, because that's beyond their control. Calling 911 is required after 5 minutes. However, if it's a first-time occurrence or if this is a new observation, you would call 911.
That's what I was going to say. If it was the general public, like say I didn't know you,
in all likelihood, yes.
I think I would immediately just call 911 because I don't understand the severity. But if you're a client that I've supported and I know, typically protocol would be after 5?
Yes, but I would think that if you were attending to the person, you'd call someone else to call 911, because you would want to be protecting them. The main thing is to protect their head. The main thing is to keep them on their side in case they were to spit up or vomit, and prevents them from choking. And so you're just sort of keeping them out of danger, and you're calling for help initially to have other people call 911 unless you feel you can leave that situation. Now that's the rarest type of seizure. So if you see someone having a complex partial where they're kind of walking aimlessly around, you just want to help them. And it's harder to, unless you know the person, it's harder to detect that that's what's happening. You just want to direct them and protect them,
I would think
so they don't walk it on the street or something. As
a general public, we'd just be like, you know, what's up with that guy? We really wouldn't know what to do. But I want to ask you this, because I've been in this scenario before, and maybe some people who are watching might be asking, when someone's having a seizure, can they not hear us talking to them? It depends. It's not, there's no definitive answer. Generally, during a tonic-clonic, perhaps as they're recovering from it, perhaps at some point in the middle of it, I've heard of people saying they remember certain points, but you could assume no. Okay. The reason why I ask you this, there is a family I work with, and their son, we can talk to him during his seizure and be like, you know, you're doing well, come out of it, you know, keep calm. We could call his parents and put his parents on speaker, and the minute he hears his parents' voice, done. That was what we would do to deal with his seizures. So in that case, I wonder there was a level of consciousness in that case. Yeah, I was like, how does that come to be? But regardless if you know the person could hear you or not, still talk with a reassuring and calm voice. Do not yell at them. Do not be panicking and running around, because you do not know if they're taking this all in. Remain calm, you know, be soothing with them, have them in a safe position. If any of you have taken first aid, you will learn to put them in the recovery position if they do vomit. Is there any other tidbits people need to know when it comes to dealing with someone who may be having a seizure or who has epilepsy?
Well, I was just going to say, step up. Don't walk by someone who's acting or behaving in an unusual way in a public place, especially if they're alone. You know, there's no harm in stepping up and just assessing the situation for yourself, and perhaps seeking help for them if you're not comfortable, but not just to walk by.
No, and I would hope that's why we have the show, right? That the whole point of A Voice for All is to educate the Peel region. So I would hope after, you know, hearing this interview, if you did see someone having a seizure, you would know what to do. You would help as you can, and if you feel that you're not willing to take the lead, at least make the call and have someone else on standby who could help you through this. We need to be a proactive community. I encourage all of you to, you know, go on Google, learn the basic first aid requirements to deal with someone who has epilepsy. Take a first aid course. You know, the first aid course covers a wide range of different you know, procedures when it comes to an emergency situation. Educate yourself. And just because you have never had a seizure, or you don't have a history of epilepsy in your family, does not mean a seizure cannot happen in your life. At any point, whether it's through stress, through illness, head injury, anything, you may suffer from a seizure. So do yourself a favor, do the community a favor, educate yourself about epilepsy awareness. This is not the end of the interview. Cynthia will be joining us for segment 2, as we're going to be going more into what Epilepsy Halton Peel Hamilton does for the community. So much information. Like I said, you could contact me below, send in your questions, give us your feedback. I'm hoping you're enjoying this interview. Join me after the break to continue our interview with Cynthia. You can contact EHPH, Epilepsy Halton Peel Hamilton, at www.ehph.org. You can email them at info@ehph.org, and you can call them at their main phone number, 905-450-1900. For Hamilton, welcome back to A Voice for All. I am your host, Jamila Gamble, and I'm continuing my interview with Cynthia from Epilepsy Halton Peel Hamilton. We covered so much information on what is epilepsy, what can we do if we see someone having a seizure. So I really hope you got a lot of information from our first segment, but if you did miss some of that info, feel free to visit their website. You could call their office, you could go on Twitter, you could get the stats yourself, educate yourself. They are very friendly at the office. I'm sure they love to give you any information that you require. So to continue on our info, I'm going through this book here, which is fantastic, with all the stats, breaking down the barriers. Tell me about the gala you guys had a couple months ago.
We have a gala in March, and we will have our 3rd annual this coming March, 2015. And we are creating awareness. This is one of the things that, you know, we touched on in the first segment. People don't know about epilepsy, they're afraid of it. And every month of March is Epilepsy Awareness Month. And March 26th is Epilepsy Awareness Day worldwide. And in Canada, the bill was passed, so it's actually an official day of recognition and awareness. And every year, our awareness, you know, extends broader and broader. So we're really positive on that march to educate everyone, one group at a time, one family at a time.
Love it.
And so our gala is March 28th this year, coming up. And we have usually an MC who's quite a well-known person. Last year we had Mark McAllister.
Awesome.
And Mark had a seizure on air in 2011, so he's quite a good spokesperson and advocate for people with epilepsy, and he's helped us bring forth some education. And we have, there's a silent auction and a live auction and fabulous food. It's at Credit Valley Golf and Country Club.
Okay.
People from all over our regions come, and it's a really great evening. And this year we have a lot. Every year we make more and more inroads, and the gala is more and more successful.
Beautiful. I want to go back to Mark, because I just saw a line here that just popped out at me. The impact of epilepsy on daily life. Mark had a seizure on air.
Right. For
the common person, can they still continue to thrive and have, live day to day with their epilepsy?
60% of people with epilepsy see a neurologist, have a diagnosis, get a prescription, and they move on with their daily life, just taking an extra step every day by including their medication. 30 to 40% of the people who take the medication, it either partially works or doesn't work at all, and then they're constantly looking at new combinations, new solutions. Sometimes they resort to surgery. So those are mostly the people that we see, people who are not seizure-free.
Okay. So with those new solutions, now in the media, there's all this coverage on medical marijuana and its role in people's lives who have epilepsy. What's your take on that?
Well, alongside pharmaceutical companies coming up with new medications, this is sort of unconventional steps that people are taking. I know that there's a condition called Dravet syndrome, which is a catastrophic epilepsy.
Heard of that. Yes.
And some of those children have had some success taking what we refer to as medical marijuana. It's really, there's no high to it. It's a refined product, mostly available in the U.S., but in Canada, you go through your doctor. So it's a prescription, and then there are legalized.
There's steps to getting it.
Yeah, places to get it.
Okay.
So, but most people are taking conventional drugs and trying those combinations.
Okay. So we've been talking a lot about people with epilepsy. What about people who do not have epilepsy and want to volunteer? How can they get involved with your organization?
Well, we have all kinds of volunteer opportunities, especially right now. There's some great opportunities for high school students who need their 40 hours.
You heard it.
We have a marathon coming up. Well, we do 5K, and most people walk, but you can run it, jog. We have somebody walking with their seizure response dog. So we've got a big group. We usually have over 100 runners, walkers. And it's on October 19th, and the students are asked to sign on with us. We pay your entry fee. We encourage you to raise funds for us. You have a fundraising page, so it doesn't cost you anything, but it raises money, and you get several volunteer hours for that effort.
And you're learning.
Learning about volunteerism, learning about fundraising, learning about epilepsy, and everybody has a blast. We have so many returning students who just love it and have been just great at helping out, and every little bit increases our goal, our success of our goal. So yeah, the marathon is really a fun event.
Good. So that's a good piece of information for the students to know.
Yeah, and you can contact David at our office, or just contact, it's STWM at EHPH.org, or just call the office and ask for David.
Again, if you need more information for volunteer opportunities, come on the JAM fan page, get that information. I'll be delighted to send it to you. Let's take two step backs, because you talked about service dogs. People always associate service dogs for visually impaired, and now with autism. But how do the dogs service people who have epilepsy? Yeah,
there are 6 or 7 different conditions that are helped by service dogs. So a seizure response dog can do a couple of things. The seizure response dog that I'm referring to, she can actually sense that a seizure is coming. That is not something they teach. It's not something they say.
So the aura, the dog learns the aura?
The dog must have another sense and can sense and help the person, so they kind of know. They warn them. They start barking. It's an absolutely incredible thing. But another thing, the dog is always attached to the person, so it's not like you have a lead and you're holding on. The dog's lead is attached to their waist, and they are on duty. The dog is a working dog, so if you see them around with their little jackets on, you can't pet them or pay attention to them, because they are working. And they provide companionship, a psychological support, and
how
some of them
is that?
I know,
especially the fact that this dog could detect the aura. And for those of you who do not know what aura is, it's basically a feeling that some people experience prior to having a seizure. So burnt toast,
Something that they smell something that isn't there,
something.
or they see something that isn't there, or they hear something that isn't there, or they have maybe some nausea or butterflies in their stomach. There's all kinds of auras.
All different types. There's not a list that you could refer to. Everyone has their own different vibe, so to say, that they feel, and they're like, okay, I feel it coming along. And this dog knows to say, get you on a chair to sit down. Like, how amazing is that?
Yeah. Now, that's not taught.
I know.
So that's what's really
what's so amazing
about this. Yeah, what's taught is to respond. So some dogs are trained to bark so that a neighbor will hear, or hit a response button, what will bring the ambulance. So there's different, every condition, every person has a different response procedure.
I would love to see a dog like that in action. I have not seen many, so to know that they're doing that, that is phenomenal. You've given us so much information, and really with epilepsy, the conversation does not end here. What you're learning does not end here. We've only skimmed the surface of what you need to know about epilepsy, but the main point that I'm trying to get across is educate yourself, be aware, and be alert. Like Cynthia said, if you're seeing someone, especially sometimes the elderly, if you're seeing someone who's wandering around, maybe they're hitting their arm continuously, or they're wandering off into a dangerous position, do you just stop and watch, or do you step in and help?
That's funny you mention that, because 1 in 14 seniors have a seizure disorder. And it's
I never knew that.
The third most common neurological condition in seniors to dementia and stroke. So it is really common, and it is often misdiagnosed as dementia or stroke.
Wow.
And so we have produced our own seniors DVDs. They're going to be up on our website soon. We're just redoing a few things, but they're on YouTube. And we've got some great information out there that's really helping seniors.
And that is exactly what the seniors need. We need, you guys are doing so much, from volunteer opportunities to the gala that you could get involved with, fundraising initiatives. You could go on their website, you could call them, you could walk into the office. There is no reason why we as a community should not know what is happening when it comes to epilepsy awareness and seizure protocols. Really, I challenge you, I encourage you to go on their website. All the information is below. So don't tell me you don't know where to find it, because it's all below. Go online, visit their site, read the stats, read the protocols, get involved somehow. Students who need your 40 hours, please don't say, oh, there's nowhere for me to get my hours from. They have some hours that are waiting for you to jump on and take. So I thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us on A Voice for All. Thank you for what you guys are doing for Peel, Halton, Hamilton, and beyond. We need this, families need this, and please, if you are a person who has epilepsy, know that there is a wealth of information and support out there for you, and I would hope people who are tuning in today will be there for you. You know, maybe if your friend has epilepsy, you now know what to do if your friend is having a seizure. So again, you could email me, you could join the Jam Fam, you could tweet me. I will give you the resources after the show debuts so that you have plenty of resources. All the information is there for you. This has been such a great show. Don't forget to go purple for Epilepsy Awareness Month and Epilepsy Awareness Day. We are counting on you to spread the word. It's been another great episode of A Voice for All. I will catch you guys next week. EHPH, you can visit them at www.ehph.org and info@ehph.org. You can call them at their central number at 905-450-1900.